It is so beautiful to see you.
I want you to want me.
Hey out there, live music lovers. Welcome to episode number 34 of First Concert Memories, the monthly sidecast brought to you by your buddies at the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock podcast, where we invite a guest on to talk about a special night in their life when attending a rock concert really changed their lives, hopefully for the better, but it was incredibly memorable for them, special moment in their lives, special time in their lives, hopefully something that shaped them in a positive way and made them fall in love with a band or fall in love with live music or decide that was going to be their career, whatever it might be. We all have them, those special nights with our friends when we're young, seeing a band that we couldn't wait to see. And that's just what we try to capture here on First Concert Memories. I've had a lot of great guests on. Last month it was Steve Kilby, lead singer and songwriter of The Church. We had Brian Slagle, the founder and CEO of Metal Blade Records, on not that long ago, talking about seeing Iron Maiden for the first out of 300 times. But this week we bring back an old friend of the show, and that's Ryan Condal. For those who don't know, Ryan is the executive producer, co-creator, showrunner, and head writer of House of the Dragon, the huge HBO series that's a prequel to the blockbuster Game of Thrones, which is about to release its third season here in June sometime. And Ryan's a friend of the show. He came on our 50th episode, part 2, on Highlander, since he at one point did work on a Highlander script. And he was also on our 50th anniversary review of Led Zeppelin's House of the Holy, as he is a big fan. So we wanted to welcome on to First Concert Memories because he told us the band he really loved and wanted to see, and then once he did changed his life, was Rage Against the Machine. Now, Jackson and I are not only a little older than Ryan, but our musical taste always skewed a little older than our generation's taste did. So in the mid-90s, when Rage Against the Machine were building their reputation and releasing Killing in the Name and doing these incredibly kinetic live shows that everyone just gets swept up in, and you can feel the energy between the band and the audience just erupt. We were psyched that the Stones were back on tour, right? We were psyched that Pink Floyd was going to go around one more time. So we kind of missed out on Rage's influence and their importance as a band. And they only made 3 records in the 90s, and they're basically done. So then Ryan, who is very mild-mannered and he's successful, tells us that he loves this band that were politically active and had anti-establishment lyrics and very left-wing political ideas. I thought, well, that's interesting. It's like a mild-mannered dad that I met in the pickup line in our kids' grade school one day. Struck up a conversation, kind of got to know each other a little bit. And he loves this band that's out there trying to take down the system. That's very interesting. Plus, we don't really know Rage, me and Jackson said this is a great opportunity to catch up with Ryan, have him back on the show, maybe hear a little bit about what's going on with House of the Dragon, and learn a little bit about Rage Against the Machine. And that's why we're welcoming him here to First Concert Memories today. But first, we do have a little bit of business to take care of. We always like to mention we are proud members of the Pantheon Media family, a network of over 100 different shows. You can learn more at pantheonpodcast.com or follow on socials at PantheonPods. And you know we give shout-outs to our worldwide intergalactic sponsor, RareVinyl.com, who is based in the UK, folks, but they procure record collections from around the world, and they ship absolutely everywhere in the world as well. So if you're looking for a first edition print of a Beatles, Stones, whatever your favorite band might be, maybe you like picture discs, maybe you like rare and deleted singles, maybe you like imports from other countries, box sets, posters, books, whatever it is, go to RareVinyl.com. And then you can use the code UGLY, UGLY, when you check out and save 10% off one entire order. So you buy 15 things and it costs you £1,000. Hey, use UGLY and you'll save £100. And I do think they have some House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones related stuff if that's your thing. So, bottom line is, go to RareVinyl.com, use the code UGLY, save 10%. Your record collection or CD or DVD collection will thank you. Now back to Ryan Condal. We always grouped Rage in with like that new new metal stuff that we just didn't like. Stuff that wasn't really metal and it wasn't really rap and it wasn't really good at either one. It's just angry young white boys spitting out stuff that'll make people fight each other in the crowd. Never really understood that. But Rage was different. They actually had smart ideologies. Maybe you don't agree with them, but they were at least well thought out. and they could put it into lyrics that you could understand. And then Tom Morello's incredibly funky guitar really sets the pace and the tone for this show. And people who love Rage will tell you that they were the best live act that they ever saw. And I think Ryan gets into that a little bit on this show. And we're just glad that he took a little bit of time out of his production of House of the Dragon and creating his own killer podcast, The Stuff That Dreams Are Made Of, where he and his buddy talk about all the great movie props and pieces of memorabilia that have gone on auction, and some of which they even add to their collections. It's a great show if you haven't heard it. So why don't we stop me talking and we get into Ryan Condal of House of the Dragon, talking about the first time he saw Rage Against the Machine way back when.
Hey, guys.
There he is.
Hey. How's it going, Ryan?
Good. I like the new Studio Mac. Feels very like music podcast.
Well, thank you. Yes. I mean, I didn't get to take all of my little toys and goodies with me when we moved to Europe. So as soon as I got them back, I'm like, you know what? I want them around me. I want to be able to see them, so.
Love it.
Hey, look, Ryan, it's great to see you again. Thanks for coming back on the show.
You two guys. Yeah.
And congratulations on The Stuff That Dreams Are Made Of, which still is doing great, all these.
Thank you.
You got some cool stuff, over the years. You keep adding to your collection the same way I do.
Yeah.
Little different collection, but it's still very cool. But, this show is First Concert Memories. You have been on Ugly American Werewolf in London a couple times. We did a Highlander one with you on our 50th, and then we did Houses of the Holy, as that was important to you, and we loved it as well. First Concert Memories is when we just kind of go back to a moment in time. It's a monthly show, and kind of see where you are at this point and why did this show mean something to you, right? Why was it important in your life? Was it the band? Was it the night? Was it just at the time you were growing up? Was it the friends you were with? Did you get arrested? What was it about the night that made it special, And we've had some great guests on telling some great stories. And I wanted you to come on because you chose Rage Against the Machine. And while I think Jackson and I have respect for Rage, it was kind of after the point that we were looking for these new pissed off people to listen to. Like, Metallica was as pissed off as we got. When Nirvana came along, we're like, yeah, okay, you guys are whining more than you're like telling a story. I feel like Rage was like politically active and had something to say, whereas Nirvana's were like, man, life sucks and I hate it. Whereas they're like, life sucks, but this is how we're going to change it. Listen to this, So I was kind of curious about how you came to be a Rage fan. Was it just that was the music of the day? Or was it like, yeah, what they've got to say is special, along with how they say it with, this rocking guitar and killer rhythm section.
Yeah, I mean, Rage was, still is, I would consider them one of my favorite bands. I don't listen to them as much. I will go through like a phase where I will listen to them because that's not something you put on the background. I feel like it's something that you have to actively engage with it. It's one of those things. And with London speed limits where they are, it's a dangerous thing to put on while you're driving. So,
that's right.
But for me, I'm a little younger than you guys. So I was in middle school during the sort of 1991 whatever happened that year when this big turning point in what rock and roll was, kind of coming out of the strange glam rock era of the 80s, and in terms of like what was popular, and then all these bands kind of broke through. Rage, I guess a little bit later, but that's Red Hot Chili Peppers and Nirvana and Metallica's Black Album, which itself was a reinvention of this band that otherwise might have gotten swept into the dustbin of 1980s history if they didn't evolve along with it. So all that stuff came at me at that very formative time when you're 11, 12, 13, you don't want to be listening to your parents' music, right? You want to be listening to like what's new and what's part of your generation.
That's
and Rage was very much a part of that. And I think I just, I liked angry music. I don't think I was an angry person. And also, we weren't well to do, but like I was very middle class. Suburban, yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And look, that a lot of Rage's success came out of those worlds. It was not like I was in the slums of New York or anything like that. But it was also a very politically active time. It was the sort of changeover from the kind of Reagan years, including Bush Senior, into the Clinton years, which was he was seen as this. I mean, very funny. He was seen as this radical leftist liberal at the time.
Progressive,
very much an establishment kind of Dixiecrat now looking back. And Rage didn't like him either. And I think that was the thing that I liked about it, was that Rage was sort of angry at everybody in equal part, and the establishment and the system. And a lot of this stuff, a lot of the history, the political history that I learned in high school came from reading Rage Against the Machine lyrics, because there was just a lot of stuff that I had not been privy to. And these are the early days of the internet. Came a couple years later, but
that's right.
I remember looking up, like, why are they so mad at the Weathermen? Like, what did the guy in front of the blue screen do? And then you realize, oh, this is a violent radical group from the 60s. And there were just these little lyrics that were instructive in teaching history. And I remember we were in this class, America Through Cinema, which was a history elective that we did. This was later in high school. I was probably I was a senior, probably junior or senior, doing that class. It was a very impactful class, and it was this history teacher who taught American history through cinema. So he would show these very cinematic, very historically accurate movies, Mississippi Burning for the civil rights movement, and things like, I think he showed us Birth of a Nation, which then Rage used in, some of its videos and things like that, just to understand, American history and how it was depicted and evolved through there. We watched, I don't know if we watched Apocalypse Now, maybe we watched Platoon. There was definitely like a Vietnam section that we did, and the Vietnam, which is one of the tracks
on Evil,
on Evil Empire. So Rage was a huge part. I mean, to me, I think in high school it was Rage Against the Machine, Metallica, and then I think Tool came into my life, but like Tool probably was I think my mind got really expanded to them in college, when I really started to appreciate the different stuff that they were doing and all that. But Rage sat right at the middle of it. Like, I think before all of our lacrosse games, that Rage was always blaring from the radio.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
If there was one new band that I wanted to come out with a new album, it was Rage, and Evil Empire came out when I was sophomore in high school. So right there, and I already had the self-titled album, the one with the horrible image of the Buddhist monk, which is an image from Vietnam, which nobody had. I mean, this is pre-days of the internet. Nobody had ever seen that before. I mean, or it had been seen in that time and then kind of like lost to history. And it's like, well, what is this? How did they do this?
I think they put that in one of my history books. So I was vaguely familiar, like, wow, like he just burned himself and just sat there. That's a very dedicated man. I would not be able to do that.
Yeah. I used that image in House of the Dragon with our dragon keepers. One of the guys these guys get burned. They're the sort of religious order that takes care of the dragons.
Right.
And they get burned all the time, incidentally, and sometimes because dragons are angry and whatever. So they have this their dress looks very kind of East Asian. I mean, the inspiration for their costume was actually Kurosawa movie that our costume designer was obsessed with. So she built it out on that. So they have this kind of Japanese monk kind of feeling to them, just in the way they look. But we had this during the season 2 when Rhaenyra was trying to have commoners claim dragons. One of them got caught in the crossfire, and I did this whole thing where everybody's running around. A bunch of people got burned, and they're running and screaming, and he just very calmly goes down to his knees, and they all carry this dragon glass dagger at their waists, and he calmly went down to his knees and opened his own throat. And we just thought it was this cool moment. It was definitely inspired by not the Rage Against the Machine cover, but that that era of the Buddhist monks protesting the war.
Wow. Well, I mean, season 3 is coming up here really soon. I know a lot of people are excited about it, man.
Hopefully.
Is it like, oh no, I know. I've read it all the time. I see it on the internet, like, oh, season 3 is coming. Are you ready? Kind of thing. Of course, I've watched every episode. What I'm trying to do is go back and watch Game of Thrones just so I understand the later story. And it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I like you, but it's harder for me to watch those than it is. I mean,
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like all the actors in it. It's just, I think I'm having a hard time keeping the family tree straight. It's like, okay, now how is he related to her again? Or why do they beef on each other? Like, it's because I fall asleep while I'm watching sometimes. I'm like, oh, I must have missed the important part.
It's much more dispersed, and I do have to keep. It's much more kind of realm wide. Whereas ours, I always say ours is this. You're watching The Sopranos with us. It's
yes.
It's a gangster movie about one family that's fighting over who's going to be the next.
Exactly.
The next boss.
Yes.
I feel bad for that kid that was on Game of Thrones, the one that played the king. He was so good at that he basically had to leave acting for a while because everybody hated him. He's like, it was just a role.
Because they confused Joffrey with
Correct. With the real guy. Like,
the actor,
it's just a job. I'm not that person.
But everyone's really excited about it. I can't wait. Are you still doing any like third director, second director stuff for the later episodes, or is it all pretty much in the can?
No, it's all long shot and done. We're in post now, so we're in the phase where we're starting to lock picture lock episodes, not necessarily not finished and delivered, but picture lock. Sort of everything kind of follows picture lock, so that's when you can really start. The composer can score the episode because everything sort of relies on like having that, okay, this is what the picture of the episode is, and that because the sound design gets done like to the frame, the color correction gets done to the frame, and you don't want to do these big expensive processes until everybody's agreed on what that picture is. So these things are all kind of happening in process, but it's when everybody really dives in and gets down to okay, this is what it's actually going to be. So we've locked at this point, I don't know, we've locked probably half the episodes, maybe slightly more than half. And I would say by the end of April, hopefully we're locked on everything, and then off to the races and running and starting to deliver the early ones, because those have to be ready to go for press reviews and premieres. So those even have to be ready earlier even than like the later episodes do for air, just because, and they have to be subtitled and dubbed and all the things that you don't even think about, and all that stuff. Like our work has to be done before we really turn that stuff over into the world. Well,
and have you got some new sharp suits for all the red carpets you're going to be on coming up here?
Yes, I have. I had to go out and get so much wardrobe, but it's been actually very nice. This designer John Varvatos, which is kind of a rock and roll sort of. They have all those great kind of mostly like 60s and 70s like black and white photos up in their shops. It's I think it's a New York based brand, but they saw me I just like their stuff, and they saw me wearing a bunch of it earlier seasons, and they got in touch and they're like, "Hey, can we dress you?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, that's awesome.
They sent this crazy care package arrived this week with like, here's a whole bunch of stuff for this press event and that press event. They were, just like went way over the top. So giving them a little thank you, John Varvatos. They've been awesome to me. So I had to do a lot less thinking this year in terms of getting
that always helps. But that's a nice perk if you got someone who can send you the hip clothes and say, "Hey, how about you wear this for?" It's like, yes, I will.
I think Mick Jagger is all John Varvatos now. Everything that he wears on stage. So it's cool stuff. And they did a really cool, I don't know, it's the Kiss world, but they did a cool black and white photo with the Paul and Gene, and then Tommy and Eric in suits. They kind of recreated the Dress to Kill deal.
Oh,
that was really cool. That was a couple of years ago.
Jimmy Page has done a bunch with them too.
Nice.
I remember there was a guy that I used to, one of the salespeople that used to bring me in for these like little private sales, and he's like, "You're a Zeppelin guy, right?" He had to show me. He got his picture with Page when he was coming through the shop, and it's just amazing.
That is so cool. Are you gonna fight Jimmy to like the premiere or something? I bet he would come.
I should, yeah. I figure there's a better chance than not that they watch the show, or they're at least aware of it, right? With all the Lord of the Rings references all the way. I think Plant's a fantasy guy at the very least.
No doubt. Yeah. No, I just saw him in Louisville. In fact, the show that's live right now is my live review of Robert Plant. So he's going to go take that to maybe South America before he comes back to England. But
I need to see him live. We got very close, my wife, because my wife actually really, she's like Zeppelin, but like she really loves his solo career. And the Band of Joy and the stuff with Alison Krauss and all that. Yeah. And he does a lot of these little shows here, and we got very close to going to one, and it was like a sitter issue, and I was like, but I need to do that before we leave here because he's a legend, and he
no doubt
deserves to be seen.
And we're just fortunate because you mentioned Alison Krauss. She did a live album with Union Station that was recorded at the Louisville Palace.
Oh, amazing.
And so she likes that place a lot. In fact, on the live album, you can hear her say, "We love this place. It's a beautiful place." So when she first started with Robert, she came and did 2 nights back to back here at the Palace. And ever since then, whether he was with Patty Griffin or whoever he was with after that, he's never missed the Palace. So as a town that gets skipped for Nashville or Indy or Cincy or St. Louis a lot, for whatever reason, we're on Robert Plant's radar, and I love it. That's just awesome. So
that's very cool.
So listen to that one, and I'll listen to you guys talking about your latest auction pieces that you picked up.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, I'm Deborah Bonham.
And I am the Irish werewolf in England, Peter Bullock.
And you're listening to The Ugly American Werewolf in London.
Anyway, all right. So, but let me go to Jackson for a second, because I mean, obviously, we knew who Rage were. Killing in the Name was a big deal when it came out, but it still wasn't. I mean, at that time, we were kind of going through our 70s stuff and still getting into Maiden, deeper. And, it was like these guys were just pissed off and like, we don't want to be pissed off. Like, we were happy drunks. We weren't like pissed off drunks. You know what I mean? We're like not Dave Mustaine. We're like Kirk and those guys in Metallica. We're just like, yeah, let's have some fun. But these guys were not fooling around.
Right, that is correct, and they were very angry, but they kind of had something that was a little bit different because they always seemed very committed to it. It didn't seem like, okay, we're doing this as a
It wasn't
stunt.
an act. Yeah.
Right, correct. And there was always something about Tom Morello too. Like he doesn't shred like we like, but he always does funky things.
Yeah, he's good.
He's got the one deal where he unplugs the lead and then he's tapping it on the metal
pickups.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then we're like, well, that's really cool. He's always looking for different ways to make sounds and make the guitar do different things. But yeah, I think that was the big thing is they were very angry and they kind of got lumped in, I thought, with like the grunge deal when they first came out. But then they kind of made their own space after the rest of those bands kind of went away.
Yeah.
Or got pushed back a little bit.
Yeah, they were their own thing, and I think they were
Correct, yeah.
unclassifiable, which is why everybody was trying to. Are they rap? Are they metal? Are they grunge? Alternative, whatever.
But I mean, you're right. You want to turn something on, either you don't listen to it or you listen to it at the max volume because you're not like, well, yeah, we'll just put this on the back because I was listening. But one of my favorites is "Sleep Now in the Fire," and that
great one.
Cannot get loud enough. I was listening to that the other day, and I'm like, okay, I got to turn this off because the neighbors are going to come over and give me a hard time.
Yeah. Michael Moore directed that video, the music video.
Yeah, and that whole like the battle for Los Angeles, and I'm like, and yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, we're white guys from the suburbs. I'm like, is it really like that in Los Angeles? Like, what's going on there? Like, it looks like a crazy place.
I mean, I think their Los Angeles was because they recorded that very turbulent time, high crime and lots of unrest and the Rodney King riots. And it was all, that was all in the milieu of LA at that time. And, Zack as a Chicano grew up in a much different world than any of us did. And, Tom Morello was, of mixed race and, only had a mom. And like, I think the other two guys, Brad Wilk and Tim Comerford, were definitely the white suburban kids that mixed into the band and were just wanted to play angry music. But there's real ennui in the band's history.
And it's cool because you can go through and learn some stuff too that maybe they didn't teach you in school.
Civics. Yeah, no doubt.
Or if they did, they glossed over it.
My only issue was that because they were thrown in that rap rock new NU metal bit, and I didn't like Limp Bizkit. I thought they sucked. I thought Korn was... They weren't bad. They just weren't my kind of thing. And they just kind of get lumped in with all these people because they have to market it right. So they push you in with these folks. I think they should have been classified as their own thing, but it doesn't work.
Well, Rage came first. I mean, Rage certainly came before Limp Bizkit. Just the idea of mixing rap and rock was an entirely new concept that Rage did, and then a bunch of people tried to follow it to sort of questionable success. But even Korn, which was totally its own different sound and owed more to dark metal and Sabbath and all that. There's a bit of a rap thing, I guess, sort of going on in there, but I don't think that came from Rage. I think that came from their own world. That actually was Korn was my very first concert.
Interesting.
This we're going over my first Rage concert, which ended up being a much bigger band in my life, which is why I picked it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, no, so yeah, I mean, look, I remember when Public Enemy and Anthrax got together to Bring the Noise. I'm like, okay, well, that's awesome. That's the first kind of rap rock. I mean, well, maybe Walk This Way, but that was not. Yeah. That was very commercial, and I liked it, sure. But then when Public Enemy and Anthrax did, I'm like, that's cool. I don't know. It just seemed like after that, a lot of it, like, it wasn't good rap and it wasn't good metal. So, I mean, you're both, but you're not really good at either, in my opinion. But Rage was its own thing.
You're doing it because you can't sing and you don't have good musicians in the band. So you're finding this middle ground which you can kind of get away with. Which
throw some samples in there, maybe, right?
Yeah. And Tom Morello is an incredible musician. Listen to Audioslave, which is the three members of Rage with Chris Cornell from Soundgarden, entirely different mean, you can hear the Morello isms, but an entirely different band and musical experience. But there are real musicians in there, and Zack, for his part, is not, I don't think he's got a traditional singing voice, but goddamn, that guy spit. And he's like, I think Zack is one of the best, not only MCs of that era. And I go through, I hold him up with Biggie and Tupac and Dre and like all those guys, but also as a lyricist. I mean, that guy, his writing is incredible. And I always looked up to it. And I just couldn't believe he was doing this stuff at like 19, like writing these things at 19. I mean, it just blew my mind. Still does. I mean, still go back and listen and read. And it's just the verse of it, the writing itself, the language, but then the way he builds it into verse is just work of art.
Yeah. So when this was announced, this tour or this concert, this was your idea? Were you a big fan?
This is totally my idea. Yeah. Yes, I went with. I definitely took my brother because it was my younger brother's first concert. Okay. So blew his mind. He got to see Wu Tang Clan as well. And I went with my buddy from high school. There might have been a fourth there, but it was definitely the three of us. I feel like there was a fourth, and I'm sort of scanning my mind to figure out who it was. It was probably one of my guys that would find ourselves at these concerts all the time. It might have been my other buddy from high school, but I definitely know my buddy Matt was there, and then my brother Adam. And this was Continental Airlines Arena, home of the New Jersey Devils, which we were massive fans of. So we were in that arena a lot over the 1990s, and that was their big successful period, the 90s and the early 2000s. So we went there a lot. And that was East Rutherford, New Jersey, and I grew up just a short drive away. In fact, so short that we didn't even have to get on the highway to go to that arena, so we could just take the back roads in. And
nice.
And we sort of knew how to go to events there and sort of do the secret parking because it was in the Giants Stadium complex. So there was this big they were on either sides of the main highway, the stadium and the arena. And the trick was you always went and you parked on the opposite side. So if you're going to a Giants game, you parked on the Devils arena side and walked over the covered bridge. If you were Giants going to a Giants game, if you were going to the Devils, you parked on the Giants side, walked over the covered bridge. And it was always easy because the parking and exiting is a real goddamn nightmare now that the new stadium is there, but it was even back then. So that was the kind of hack, and we called that, if anybody wants to know, we called that tunnel the Devil's Asshole because it was a very strange place, and people used to bang. It was like all corrugated, and people would bang on it, "Let's go Devils," or just screaming rage or whatever it was. But yeah, we sat in the upper deck, front row of the upper deck, and we were right over the stage, because they kind of lay it out that like lengthwise thing. So there was GA. And I think I was like, well, I don't want my brother to get killed at his first concert. Right. It's rage. So like, let's do the seats thing. And we had a great vantage because we were up over the stage, kind of looking down on Tom's Morello's side of the stage, and with a great unobstructed view of it. And the acoustics were good there because it wasn't a gigantic arena, and it wasn't one of these places where it's just this like echo mess nightmare. It actually did for something that wasn't built for purpose. It did a good job.
Sounds good.
I love seeing concerts there.
Yeah, you definitely did not want to be on the floor for that show because I'm sure there was a lot of people just stomping each other.
Yeah, and you can when you see it from above, it looks like, why would anybody go in there? And then you just realize like, this is where I've been. I've been in there.
Yeah. Now wait a minute. Wasn't Wu Tang? So you got to see the Wu Tang, but they didn't make it through that whole tour. Like something happened and they were forced off or something like that, I feel like.
They definitely played that night. Yeah, and I don't know where this sat in the tour. I don't remember. But that was the thing. Rage often toured with hip hop acts. They didn't do a lot of like rock support stuff. And I think they really, once they became superstars, I think they used it as a real platform to lift up acts that they really believed in. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people do that, but they lifted up acts that they believed in almost an entirely different genre.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, the thing is, they really only made 3 records, right? The first record, The Evil Empire, which is this tour, and then they did Battle of Los Angeles. They did a cover album, Renegades, in 2000. But look at who they're covering. They've got one is, an Eric
Africa
B and
Bambaataa.
Rakim. Yes. And then they do the MC5,
Yeah.
and then they do EPMD, and then they do Minor Threat, and they do Cypress Hill, and then they do the Stooges, so.
Yeah. And Dylan.
And
They
Dylan
did
and the
Maggie's
Stones,
Farm.
So
And they did Springsteen as well.
that's right.
Tom Joad. Yeah.
So
love that song.
they're not just a rap band. They're not just a metal band. They kind of do all these genres that they can put in their own voices. And obviously, Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan, they've written some protest songs over the years, and that falls
Absolutely.
right into what they're singing about, right? Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, so you're a teenager now. You're in high school. I know you've got your little brother there, but I mean, are you sneaking beers before the show? Are you just listening to Rage on repeat all day? I mean, what's the pregame?
I think that was a pretty austere evening from my memory. I drove, so I definitely would not have messed around
drinking,
with any of that, and it was impossible to get. Certainly in that venue. I remember when we went to our corn show. Matt, who's the guy that was definitely with me at the Rage show, pulled a "Hey Mister," which he had learned from Beavis and Butthead of all places at the bar, and I remember he went over to this guy and he's like, "Hey Mister, can you get me a beer? I forgot my ID." And the guy, I remember, I was standing right there. It's this gigantic guy in a leather jacket. He looked like Donald Logue, you know who I'm talking about?
Sure, absolutely.
The biker actor dude. And he just, I mean, it might have actually been him. And he goes, "ID, man, you look like you forgot your library card. Sure, I'll buy you a beer." And it was just all in one thought, and then just suddenly, handing this probably 15-year-old to gigantic, Budweiser's off the bar. But that was not happening in Continental. No, I think we probably would have we would have like hung out in the parking lot, opened the doors, blasted the music. I think our ritual was definitely, just as you don't wear the shirt of the band you're going to see, you don't listen to the music of the band you're going to see, you listen to other music, and you keep the experience fresh that night. So certainly we would have hung out. But Matt was a miscreant, so he probably brought beer with him. I know that I would not have. I would have been very like, I want my brother to survive the evening.
Yes.
I want to have my car at the end of the evening.
Right.
If I bring him home in anything but in complete tip-top shape, this is it for me and for my brother and our musical hobby career.
Gotcha. Well, do they still live in the area? Do they still go to shows there?
My brother's in Los Angeles now. Goes to shows all the time. We actually went to the Deftones together last March at the newly renovated Forum, which they've now redone as a music venue. So the acoustics in there are fucking incredible.
Nice.
And he's flown out here to come see Tool with me at the O2. So we still go see old guy stuff together all the time, and occasional new things. We went to the Raconteurs.
Oh, cool.
At newer things. Jack White had an evening with Jack White, but the Raconteurs came out and did some stuff with him. He did some solo stuff. He did some White Stripe stuff. But we're still in it. We're trying to go to Avenged Sevenfold. That's our goal, and it has been the sort of the Misty Mountains. We have not quite been able to make that happen. They opened for Metallica at the Rose Bowl back when I was still living in LA, and we went, and we left 3 hours in advance, and we were still late to the show because traffic is such a goddamn debacle up there.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in the parking lot trying to get into the parking lot in the Uber or whatever, hearing frustratingly Avenged Sevenfold playing. We made it for Metallica. We did get there for the start of Metallica, but we missed everything but like the last couple songs of Avenged, so we were very sad about that. But yeah, we're still metalheads together. He doesn't have kids, so he has time. So he's very good about listening to new music. So he's constantly sending me, check this out, this new thing, and Beartooth, and he's very up on it. Where I feel like I have done the old guy thing in my Spotify list now. Don't bother going past 2006.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean,
so that's
for us it's 1991, but yeah,
that's what I was going to say. That's where we were at the beginning when this came out in '97. We were kind of already like, well, I've already kind of got my favorites, and. Yeah. It's hard sometimes to listen to new music because, you think, well, I already love all this other stuff. You just kind of, it's like a magnet. You keep going back to it. But on the other hand, there isn't anything cooler than when somebody gives you something to listen to and you're like, nah, and then you get into it and you say, okay, yeah, this is pretty good. Thanks for expanding my horizon.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, you would think that would happen more to us as being part of a podcast. And yes, we do get some new music, but it's like, Yes's new album is coming out in 2 months. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited about that, but I know what Yes sounds like. And I got that down pretty good after 55 years of Yes, that kind of thing. Geese is one that people keep bringing up to me. You got to check out Geese.
Geese, okay.
Yeah, it's a rock band that...
If you want to go down the rabbit hole real quick, I know that kid. The one that plays the guitar, he's my sister's best friend's little brother.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just figured that out. I'm like, wait a minute. The last time I saw him, he was like 10, and now he's in this big time band.
He's a rock star.
No,
Well, tell
he's
him
literally a rock star.
Yeah,
I
man, we need
will.
tickets.
Because it would be an interesting deal because I've listened to some stuff because a friend of mine's a huge fan,
Okay.
and it's like and then you listen, and you're like, oh no, these guys are really this once in a generation talent. Yeah, sure. And then you listen, you're like, okay, these guys are pretty good. Okay, I'll give you that.
Once in a generation might be a stretch, but I do like what
Yeah,
they're putting
but
on.
it's just that thing of, well, or I could just listen to something that I love from a million years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that even happens with my favorite bands. When Iron Maiden puts out a new album, I'm like, yes, can't wait to hear it. Yes, I put it on. I'm like, I like better than this is Somewhere in Time. Let's go put that on for 3 straight hours and sing along, All right, so you say the sound is good, which is cool, because as you say, it's a hockey arena. It's not a concert venue, built for that. What was your favorite moment from the evening? Is it walking in the place? Is it when they kick it off? What's in your memory bank?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, my favorite song at the time probably was Know Your Enemy.
Okay.
Which was that's a track from the first album. That's the one that Maynard actually from Tool guests on.
Okay.
Which was so cool. And, they've done guesting on each other's albums back and forth. And, Maynard shows up on a Deftones album, and I think Deftones show up on a Tool track at some point too. But that was definitely one I was looking forward to. And I think it was like the second song. I just remember that being it. But look, when Rage comes on, there's just nothing. There's just nothing like it because the fans are so amped, and they're not going to come out and play. They don't have a slow song. You just know they're going to come out and thrash to open the concert, and people are. It's just this like coiled spring that's waiting to pop. And yeah, that was definitely it. Bummer of the night was that Zack, as he is wont to do, injured himself. With his onstage antics, jumping off of things, jumping onto a speaker or off of a speaker, and injured either sprained his ankle or broke a bone in his leg. And I just remember it was like in the middle of Bomb Track, and they the band carried him off the stage, and we were all standing there like, is this a thing? Are they doing this?
You thought it was part of the show. Yeah.
And then it just the song stopped, which is, they never do that in the middle of a song.
Right.
And then it was just sort of like, maybe the house lights came on. I just remember it was like, is the concert over? And then they brought Zack out basically in a chair. And I think he just played the rest of the concert from like a seated position, but still raged out. I mean, it was awesome. He was a young guy at that point. He was like 21. He did this again on his their most recent tour that actually broke the band up for the 17th time or whatever. Right. He ruptured his Achilles, and I remember we saw him on not the show that he injured himself, but on one of the shows post injury, and he was sitting again, and you could just tell he was not happy and was in a lot of pain, and they actually had to cancel the tour because they were worried that he was going to do permanent damage to himself. Just not, an Achilles injury is horrible. And I think they just wanted him to have the surgery and then do the requisite rehab time. And in that rehab time, they broke up again over whatever it is they fight about constantly, communism, and Zack wanting to go fight a revolution, and the bassist just wanting to headbang. Or whatever it is. Yeah. So it's not the first. I think maybe that was the first time Zack hurt himself on stage in a way that it was going to affect the rest of the tour, but would not be the last. So that was a bummer. But then they came back out, and it was like, it's on, and look what a warrior this guy is, and played. And at this point, there's only 2 albums, so really you kind of know they're mostly going to play everything you like from those 2 albums.
Yeah.
And they did, and they didn't do the thing that a lot of bands do, which on the second album tour, which is ignore the fact that they made a first album that made them beloved and famous. They played everything you would have wanted from that first album, really, with little exception. and closed with Freedom, as they always did in that time. And I think Killing in the Name was part of the encore as well.
That's right.
So they other than not finishing Bomb Track, which is the track 1 on the first album, they brought it and left us wanting little. Yeah, that was day. I just looked at the date of that concert. It was August. I knew it was August of '97. It's days before I went away to school. That was childhood's end, really, for me.
Yeah.
I left home. I left home after that and really didn't come back.
How about that?
So yeah, but my mom still lives in that same house, so we can still
So you can go home. Yes.
Go to hers and go to the back roads down to get to Continental Airlines Arena, which is now sadly the Izod Center. They do still host only concerts because the Devils moved to
the
Newark,
fancy,
so they're in the Prudential Center.
Well, so for me, August of '91, right before I went to college, that was Van Halen on the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour. Yeah, it's a little different than Rage as far as the excitement in the crowd there. Although, Alice in Chains did open for them. And, there's some seeds of Rage in Alice a little bit, at least some of their sound, I would say, maybe not politically, and Zack had something to say, this is going to change the world, whereas, Lane was more like, just let me get to the end of this so I can shoot up again, it was a little bit different time there.
Yeah. Did you like Alice in Chains when you saw them live? I mean, I'm very jealous that you got to see them with the great Lane Staley.
Yeah,
something I missed. I was a fan and I just missed it because he sadly.
Yeah, I know I did. I know when we saw them, they opened up, and I thought that was a very cool extra treat because I was a huge Alice in Chains fan, and they were not. I can't remember if they hadn't dropped that second album yet when we saw them, so that was still
right. It was still Man in the Box all the time. Yeah.
Right, so it was like you were talking about, like if you knew that first record, that's what they were going to play, the whole thing. So I thought that was cool, and then they did come out in their underpants, much to the chagrin of Van Halen. It was like, what is going on? They were, because they probably weighed 98 pounds apiece, soaking wet in their tighty whities running around the stage, and Van Halen is like, what is going on? And then they figured it out, and they said, okay,
what a clash of eras that is.
Exactly.
That's very 80s versus 90s or 70s versus 90s rock. Like that is the old guard, sort of seeing the new guard coming in and being horrified by it. I got to see the second iteration of Alice in Chains rehearse actually about 10 years ago, which was really crazy. I was there was an actor in my first pilot that was a huge rock, metalhead rock fan, and had become friendly with Jerry Cantrell, and he's like, hey, you're a fan, like their rehearsal space is here in the Valley, like do you want to come up? And like they had me in it. I watched the band rehearse. I mean, who gets to do that?
Wow.
And that was very cool. It was with the the new singer and whatever, actually, which I do like that album. It's just it's never going to be the Lane Staley
it's
album.
Never going to be the same. Yeah.
That's the hard part is, do you keep the same name? You've built this whole reputation, you built this legacy, but you're right, it's not the same thing. And of all the people to change out, Lane had that voice that was just one of a kind.
Yep.
It's tough.
Yeah. It gave us Godsmack.
Correct. Yeah.
Alice in Chains
devotees.
Yeah.
Well, it was a big class just because at that point Van Halen weren't like the '80s like superstars. They were like dads who shopped at the Gap, as far as what they wore on stage. And then here comes these guys out in their tidy whities or jock straps, even like doing the 5150 dance right in front of them. Like who do these guys think they are? Don't they know that's Eddie Van Halen? But in retrospect, I'm really glad. And the thing is, as the case at all shows for the most part, there were people there to see Alice in Chains, and they left when Van Halen came on, or they left after 2 songs or something like that, because like, okay, we'll give them a chance, but I'm really here to see my band, the one that speaks to me, because at 18 we were older than some of those fans in there. Now when I go to shows, well, I'm actually kind of the youngest one sometimes. It's like when I take the Wolf Cub, she's the youngest and I'm the second youngest. I mean, that's what happened at Robert Plant, basically. That's what happened at Yes this fall.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Condal, the executive producer, writer, creator of House of the Dragon, and you're listening to the Ugly American Werewolf in London podcast, and you should download and subscribe. Keep doing that.
All right. So Bomb Track changes things because he does screw up his ankle. You can jump off a speaker, but don't jump onto a speaker. That's just dangerous. But listen to the names of their songs. Fistful of Steel, Know Your Enemy, Darkness of Greed, Bullet in the Head, Killing in the Name. You know what you're going to get. You know, there's not going to bring a string section with them or anything like that, right?
Yeah, there's no moment where the lead singer brings out the acoustic and sits down on the stool.
We're going to slow it down now for you folks.
Yeah. Even for the Bruce Springsteen song, like, no, it's full on ahead, and Tom Morello's banging away while he's still making these sounds that nobody else makes. I mean, just because of when he came out, he's never going to be like a Jeff Beck or an Eddie Van Halen to me, but I have to respect what he does with his instrument. It's different than what everyone else does. It is unique.
Yeah, for sure. And but I think also, like, it's not covering a lack of ability. Like, I think he could pick up a guitar and play anything.
That's right.
And could compose anything. It's just this is how he's chosen to make his art.
No, he's a Rush fan, and those guys become pretty prolific. They become awfully good at what they do, just because if you listen to La Villa Strangiato enough, you're like, God, I got to sit down and practice, you know. Well, okay, so your favorite song, was your favorite song Know Your Enemy, or was it Vietnam? What did you say your favorite was?
No, Know Your Enemy at the time.
Okay.
But I was also a huge Down Rodeo fan, which they played later in the show, which was very exciting because that's the big explosive track sort of late on the Evil Empire album. And it's not Down Rodeo, it's Down Rodeo. Because the lyrics are, I'm rolling down Rodeo, as in Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills, with a shotgun. These people ain't seen the brown-skinned man since their grandparents bought one. Very incendiary lyrics, but a good rage at the materialist society of the 1990s for sure. And the Reagan, I mean, Evil Empire itself is a reference to Reagan's time as president when he referred to the Soviet Union as the Evil Empire.
You ever keep that in the back of your mind when you're actually like on rodeo these days, like just picking up something, or you ever think
we got maybe a good laugh? I will tell you, my brother and I got a really good laugh because we moved to LA within a year of each other. He went first, I went second, and when we went to Rodeo Drive the first time together, because in your brain, certainly as a suburban teenager in the 1990s, before Instagram, when all this stuff there's no mystery of the world anymore. That place was mythologized, and then you go there and you actually realize it is that thing, and there's a Bugatti Veyron parked and another one is tooling down the street because people just go cruising, and the Prada and these insane billboard stores and all that, and you could just envision Rage coming down there in a beat up pickup truck, firing a shotgun out of the bed of the truck.
Yeah, and you see 6-foot blondes just walking around, down there. It's like, is this even real? And the answer is not really, but
it's not really.
It does exist, but it's not real. Yeah.
It's quite an experience for anybody who hasn't been to LA.
That's right. All right, so this is always an interesting one. Biggest disappointment of the night.
That it ended. I mean, it's just
That's the most popular answer.
Yeah. I mean, nothing. I had been a fan since I was a freshman. It took me until senior year to manage to go see them, just because it's hard when you're a kid. And I finally had a license, so it gave me a little range to be able to drive. But yeah, it was. I mean, 4 years in the making, but 4 years at that point in your life, which the high school feels like it goes on for 12 years in your mind when you're in high school. It's not the blink that college is, or that now 4 years is for us.
Yeah,
it was they so delivered, and still to this day, I mean, to me, live acts that I've seen, Rage Against the Machine, Tool, are the two. They have always delivered. There's never been an off show, and it heightens the experience of the thing that you listen to, the studio experience of listening to the thing on the album. Those are the only two bands that have constantly done it. Again, there's live, and then there's that live experience, and how tight they are, and how they enhance the experience of what you have listened to in your headphones or on your boombox or in your car or whatever it is. And I saw them many more times. That was the first of many, many, many Rage shows.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and it was always the most special because, well, it was the second most special. My brother and I, same brother, now living in Los Angeles, Rage had broken up right after Battle of Los Angeles for many years, and they got back together at 2007's Coachella. And this is when Coachella was the weird music festival out in the desert, not what it's become today, which is this hateful thing that
bullshit today.
I feel like Zack would be doing. I'm rolling through Coachella with a shotgun.
Yes,
but they reunited at Coachella. And this is back when you could get a day pass. So my brother and I actually were not interested in all the other hippie shit going on out there. We drove out to Indio at night to show up basically when Rage came on, and showed up at it was the closing night of the festival. So you come through it looks like you're at Burning Man, just with these bedraggled masses of people that have been high and dehydrated coming out of tents. And it's like, where the fuck are we? And then Rage comes on, and they haven't played together in, at this point, 6 years. And my God, I mean, I just remember the place just ignited. People were climbing they had that camo netting like over the sound stage, the soundboard.
The board, yeah.
The camo netting was up there, I think, for weather cover. And the Rage came on, and people just immediately just climbed up the netting and were on top of the netting. And the security guys were screaming at them to get down, but wouldn't go up because it wasn't meant to hold human weight. So they're terrified that this thing is going to come down. And normally, I think now today, they would have certainly stopped the show. For whatever reason, they didn't stop the show. People are moshing on this camo netting over this, and it just, things are lit on fire. And I just, that was an experience, because it's just like Rage is back, and it was a totally different era at this point. It's post September 11th. The world has changed. It needed Rage. We needed their voice back in the world, and they never made another album, sadly, but fits and starts, breaking up, getting back together. So we managed to see them a couple more times. Saw them at the Palladium, which is like a 3,000 person venue in LA. Oh, cool. Together one night in like 2010 or 11, which was incredible. But yeah, they were definitely a milestone in my brother and my life. And then the final time we saw them was on the sort of what ended up being the farewell tour,
last tour
at MSG with his busted Achilles. And they were still fucking great, I will say. They were still had not lost a step, other than literally his step.
Right. That step, yeah.
Were you nervous at all going to that Coachella show? Like, oh, they still have it? Are they still going to bring it? It's been a while.
That didn't factor into my worry. My worry was more getting stranded in Indio and not being able, because that's a long drive from LA, and it's like we have to see this concert and then make the haul back because we didn't have a hotel room because we cheaped out on it. But we were young and filled with the adrenaline of having seen the show, so we made it. The car was still there when we got back, that was admittedly a worry when the whole place seemed to be lit on fire.
Yeah, that's a worry. That's a real concern, I would say.
We made it, and God, what a legendary show. Legendary band, guys.
Well, back to August 20th, 1997. All right, show's over. Your adrenaline's a high. You're like, wow, they just did it. By the way, there was something on the set list that said in the encore, Between Killing the Name and Freedom, RZA came on and jammed with them. They don't have a name for that song. Did you remember recognizing what they're doing? Or
I do. I admittedly, like, I knew what Wu Tang was, and it's very cool that I saw Wu Tang. I don't know. I do remember the jam session. Okay. But no, I don't remember. I don't remember what it was.
Okay. Fair enough. But then, all right, fine. So you get out of there, you go over the bridge, and you get to your car, and then you get home in one piece, your little brother too. Are you just so buzzed you can't go to sleep till 4 a.m? Do you go home and listen to more? I mean, what's that?
Yeah, probably. We went home, we listened to it in the car and listened to it more. My brother was an immediate, I think he liked Rage, but I think that was the convert moment for him. And then he actually had musical ability, so he took up guitar not long after that, or probably around that time, and could actually play Rage stuff. He like deconstructed a bunch of the Morello stuff and figured out how to, with the pedals and whatever, how to recreate some of those things. I remember him figuring out the Allen wrench thing. He used an Allen wrench for People of the Sun. It has this kind of, it almost sounds like a DJ with a record at the top, and it's like, but it's just him scraping something metal over the pickups on the strings. And my brother figured that out. He's like, check this out. And that was years later, but yeah, he was definitely starting to get into it, but he's, at this point he's 13, maybe 14. All right. So it was definitely the beginning of his, like, who am I as a music fan, and fried his sweet little brain.
Awesome. Night. Well done.
Yeah, there's nothing better than being in that car afterwards. You can't, your ears are just buzzing and you're just screaming at each other. That was awesome. What?
It's the best.
Yeah. You're laying in bed. Whee!
Yeah.
Like, oh boy.
All right. So if 2027 comes and they say, all right, we're going to do this one more time, we're going to put the, back together, and look, they kind of put their money where their mouth is. I mean, they've done tours where all the money goes towards like good causes and things they want to get behind. They say, okay, we need to raise money for whatever. We're going to do another Rage tour. Are you there? They come to London. You're going to be there?
Oh my God. Yes. That's one I travel for.
Okay.
At this point in my career, very few bands am I going to bother to travel for. But Rage would be like, where are they going? We're getting on a plane. We're going.
Awesome. Still got the passion all those years later, Jackson.
Love it.
That's
Yeah.
that's what happens when a band really grabs you and they can still have that passion. I think that's the thing is, you got a lot of these bands that are kind of just going through the motions, like, oh yeah, we'll take your money if you want us, to do a tour. But I think these dudes, if they were going to do it, they'd still bring it and still have that energy.
They'd have a reason, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah, that's why you and I are going to travel to see Iron Maiden for the upteenth time this summer.
Yeah.
Because we can't not.
That's going to be awesome. And I'm actually a little bit afraid of that Rush show because people are going to be flipping out.
I know, and I'm just, am I going to be able to get through the set without crying? I don't want to cry in front of my daughter.
Yeah,
Where are you guys going to see Maiden?
We're going to
Charlotte.
Charlotte to see Maiden. Plus, they're coming to Louisville. Has a 4-day festival called Louder Than Life, which I usually avoid like the plague because it's basically on the tarmac next to the airport. Like it's end of summer. It's like 95 degrees. It's hot as snot. Your favorite band's here, but they do 4 songs, because the wife is dialed in and knows Danny Widmer, the promoter, she's like, well, we might be able to go meet Iron Maiden. I'm like, then we are going that day.
This is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. But we're going to Charlotte. We're going to Chicago to see Rush.
Oh.
The United Center, where the Bulls play.
Yeah.
I have seen them play there before. It's pretty awesome. But I don't know. It's like they said, yes, we're going to do one night. And so I rushed in, got tickets, paid way too much. Like, okay, we're going to do 3 more nights now. I'm like, well, come on, Jeez.
But you're going to the first one.
I think so. It may be.
That's
maybe
epic.
not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
It might be the second one. I think it's that Monday night.
Yeah, I think we're doing Monday night, and
Yeah.
maybe they're doing Sunday. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm going. I told my daughter because Neil died when we lived in London together one night, and I always wanted to take the Wolf Cub to see him, and then I'm like, well, now this is never going to happen. And now, 7 years later, it's going to become true. So
Yeah,
we
you
can't miss
gotta
it.
seize the opportunity where you have it.
That's right.
None of these bands or us are getting any younger.
That's for sure. And we're like you. When I was young, I would drive to Cincinnati or Indy or Lexington or wherever, Nashville, if I had to. But now, you better be awfully special for me to,
Yeah.
to not be in bed by 11 o'clock after the show. You know what I mean? All right. Well, no, this is fun, Ryan. Hey, why don't you tell us about, release date, the premiere date? I'm sure you're going to give us all sorts of spoilers about what's going to come up this year and all that.
Yeah. No, I don't need to have the sniper that's trained on me take me out.
Yeah.
Which the sniper is myself. But yes, the show premieres in June. I don't think they've said specifically which day in June.
Okay.
But that news is coming very soon. So stay tuned, stay tuned. And very proud of it. It's definitely the biggest season we've made by like a plus 50%, I would say.
Wow.
At least, just in terms of scope and scale and action and dragons and all that. We made 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 feature films this year, the equivalent of, and it's huge. We spent a ton of Warner Brothers money before Paramount inherits the debt that we made for them.
Good for that. Yeah.
And I think I'm tremendously proud of it, and all the people that work so hard to bring it to reality and to life. And we've been working on it for the better part of 2 years now, as these seasons take. So
Yeah.
releasing it into the world, it's feels like I don't know, feels like a birth or a pregnancy or something like that.
Well, didn't you hit some new locations? Weren't you in Spain filming for a while, or Portugal or something like that?
We did Spain and Portugal first season, second season. This season we were all over on location, but this is a totally UK based show.
Okay.
This year, so we did a lot of Surrey out in the countryside, and then a ton of North Wales stuff, and our kind of warm climate stuff we figured out in the drier parts of England, actually.
Wow.
The season didn't call for it, but it looks like in season 4, which we're starting to plan now, it looks like we will be going abroad yet again. So I'm excited to do that.
Well, I know a lot of people are excited about it, man. This world that you've helped create is one that people love, and so all the best to you and all the best to the show. And well, I can't wait. I feel like they used to come out on Sundays. Is that still going to be the case?
Sunday night, 9 p.m. if anybody still watches something live when it airs on television, but it becomes available on your streamer on Sunday night, I believe. Well, that would be 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Right.
So if you're here in London, that's like 2 a.m. on Monday. And even though that is the case, there's still insane people who stay up that night so that they don't have it spoiled for them the next morning and all the news headlines and everything. And I'm sure that will continue.
Absolutely, it will. Yes. Well, way to go. Well, a funny side story. Because I started watching Ted Lasso on Apple in London, and then again when we moved to the Netherlands, it still thinks I'm there. So I don't have to wait till Wednesday to see Shrinking. I can watch it Tuesday night.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so I get it kind of before everybody else does, So, like, did you watch Shrinking? Did you stay up till... No, I didn't have to stay up till 2, man. I just watched it at 9. So that's good stuff.
That's Apple TV's little thank you to you for being an early booster of Ted Lasso.
I was, yeah, no doubt about it. Right there on Belgrave Gardens. All right, well, Ryan Condal, co-creator, executive producer, showrunner, great writer. By the way, IMDb.com still lists you as a writer on the new Highlander movie.
Oh, and Highlander, yeah, because I once was in an article about Highlander.
Yes,
yes, very excited to see that how it comes together.
The cast is huge.
The cast is huge. I'm sure that production went balls to the wall. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a good one.
I want to get a job there at IMDb because apparently you don't have to get anything right. You've got people like in production or in development. I'm like, I think that guy's dead. I don't think he's going to develop anything.
Well, it's like Wikipedia. I mean, people can just update it. There's no central body. Hollywood is not sitting there. Mr. Hollywood is not sitting there with
editing it
with his assistant. Like, hey, update the Highlander thing. It's just it's sort of crowd populated. So some things are right and lots of things are wrong.
Damn it, Mr. Hollywood, get on it, will you? But the stuff that dreams are made of, you're still making.
Yep.
One just came out today, I think, or last night.
Yes, we did it. For anybody that, if there's any crossover with science fiction nerdery in your lovely rock podcast, we just did a deep dive on the X-Wing fighter, the ILM studio scale model, and how all of those were built for the first film, and with the foremost expert on that, historian Jason Eaton. So it's worthwhile. But that's a very kind of deep cut specific episode, but we do a ton of episodes with interesting people that you don't have to be a nerdy collector to appreciate. We have Adam Savage from Mythbusters on. We just had Janet Snow on, who is Mario Puzo's assistant on The Godfather, and she told her story of that, and she was there that famous night at Chasen's when Frank Sinatra shouted down Mario Puzo for writing The Godfather, and kind of threatened his life, threatened to whack him. So with Alfred Hitchcock staring across his martini in disbelief that this was happening. So Janet was there that night as a young lady, and we have a ton of cool shit. But if you're into movies and film history from the era that this podcast covers so heavily, the 70s and the 80s,
that's right.
Go check it out. The stuff dreams are made of.
Excellent.
All podcast apps and YouTube.
Awesome. Ryan, can't thank you enough, man. I'm sorry we couldn't catch up. We were in London for about a week last year, but I think you were off filming out of the country.
Yeah, I think the kids were away and we were on location. It's crazy, like ships pass.
All right, bud. Well, hey, look, stay in touch. We don't collect the movie stuff, so we can't really be a huge help to you, but if we could do anything for you on your show, let us know.
I appreciate it. When they finally make the Zeppelin movie, the dramatization, we'll do a podcast crossover.
Definitely. Did you like Becoming Led Zeppelin, the movie?
No, I didn't. I mean, look, any new material is fun. The Lost Bonham interview, but like what a sanitized, Becoming Led Zeppelin. You expect this, and it's like, and then these 4 respectable musicians and this very controlled narrative that we've all agreed to be a part of. No, I thought it was. I mean, for what it was interesting. But it's just like, this is not this band.
Yeah.
It's not this band. It's not this band, and that's also not. I mean, I guess it is the story of how they were founded, but they left out every. Yeah. And it just,
you want to know about motorcycles in the Hollywood the
Yeah,
riot
and look,
house.
a lot of that happened later, but it felt so controlled by the band to try to change the narrative. And like, you guys are in your 70s, like why do you care at this point, or just don't make it? I mean, that's the other
Right.
thing. I mean, it's fun. It was fun to see. I was excited to see it, and then it was just a disappointment.
And then not so much.
and I reread I reread the Bob Spitz book, the recent one, the guy that wrote the Beatles biography, did a recent in the last like 5-6 years. I think it's just called Led Zeppelin, but he wrote a fantastic book that intends to be the definitive as you can get with the history of this.
Okay.
The murky history of this band.
Right.
Warts and all, he went at it. It's a fantastic book and much more truth telling, I think, than that documentary was.
Cool. Well, if you want to check out some back episodes of ours, in October on First Concert Memories, we had a guy named Tony Michaelides who did like press for Bowie and Peter Gabriel and people like that. He saw Zeppelin in England in like 1969 or 1968. Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh,
and
cool.
he took a poster off the wall, and Robert Plant came out and said, "Want me to sign that?" And so he signed it. He's like, "Well, it's not worth anything if you don't have the other guys. I'm going to come backstage." And so he went backstage to hang out with Led Zeppelin when he was like 14 years old.
Oh, that's awesome. And this is coming out, this is from this past October?
Yeah, it's come out this past October, and then later in the month, or maybe it was into November, I saw Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something he's been doing for a while now, but they did all of, not in order, but all of Physical Graffiti. And
that's cool.
It was a hell of a fun night. So
Okay. I should do that. I know it's
when you're commuting. I know you've got a lot of stuff to do while you're, getting ready for the day, but something, or maybe if you're sitting in the pickup line, something to keep you busy.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'll definitely listen to to your podcast episode. That sounds like a fascinating story.
All right, but well, hey, thanks so much.
Great to see you guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, bud.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All the best. Stay in touch. Yeah.
See you.
Rock on.
Always good to catch up with Ryan. Down to earth guy who is in kind of a celebrity driven business, but he's making good stuff, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked him about Highlander, because I'm like, oh, it doesn't seem like he wants to say anything about that, so I don't think he's involved. But I mean, when we talked to him last time, he was like, yeah, I have nothing to do with that. But you're right, he's still listed on there, so that's kind of annoying because it's not my deal. But
maybe if they pay him royalties, he'd be okay with it.
Well,
but,
yeah, but
until then,
correct.
I guarantee they don't.
I thought that was interesting about how he took his little brother, so you kind of have that safety net of, hey, I got to get everybody home. I can't
be drinking or smoking or anything.
If anything happens to him, you are never going to hear it. You're never going to get let out of the house again.
That's right. Yeah. As a senior, you're about to go to college. Yeah. You come in at 5 a.m. or something, or you come in drunk, like, okay, son, this is the last time it's going to. But if you do it to your little brother who's like in middle school,
no,
you're in trouble. It was great to catch up with Ryan, talking about the first time he and his little brother saw Rage Against the Machine in the 1990s. And you got to give him credit. Hey, he didn't go out there and get crazy. He had his little 13-year-old brother with him. He wanted to make sure he got home in one piece, so he didn't go out there and get crazy. He was smart about it, but he also loved it. It created a love affair for this band that obviously he and his brother still share to this day, and they can travel to go see them together. And if one day the band decides, hey, we're going to do it one more time because we just realized that there's a 15-year-old kid out there who's never seen us play but has been in love with us for 3 years now, or maybe there's a 30-year-old who's never seen you play but has loved you ever since they knew you, right? Maybe they realize they don't want to be capitalists until they have kids. And they're like, wow, capitalism could provide me and my family a better future. I don't know. I don't know them that well, and I probably won't be there, but I guarantee you that if Rage Against the Machine tours again, Ryan Condal and his brother are going to be there. Wherever in the world they are, they'll be there. And that's the kind of fandom we seek on First Concert Memories. Someone you just can't miss. Like Jackson and I can't miss Rush. We can't miss Iron Maiden. And that's Rage Against the Machine for the Condal Boys. Now, you need to make sure you go out and check out the stuff the Dreams are made of. It's a great show, especially if you're into movies. And yeah, he's kind of a little younger than us, but he's still of our generation as far as he's really big into those 70s and 80s movies that really kind of shaped who we are.
And of course, I know you're going to watch House of the Dragon when it re-premieres on HBO. Season 3 here, coming up in June sometime. It's a cultural phenomenon. People love that stuff. Yes, it's built off Game of Thrones, but it's the same world. It's just going back a little farther. And for me personally, it's easier to understand. I don't know all the houses. I can't figure out who everybody is and how they're related on Game of Thrones. I just know there's hot women, they're naked a lot, and there's a lot of killing. Plus dragons, kind of fun. But House of the Dragon, I feel like, is really well written, and I understand who everyone is and their relationships to each other, and I really enjoy it. I'm not just saying that because Ryan and I are buddies. I actually really enjoy it. I've tried to get into Game of Thrones a couple times. Hasn't really worked out yet, but House of the Dragon, no problem. Love it. Can't wait to see season 3. And we want to know, folks, which artists turned you on? What were your first concert memories? Who did you go see and it changed your world? Or who did you go see and it was a crazy night? Or it screwed up your next day? Or you got kicked out of the house? Whatever it is, you got to email us and let us know. It's uglyamericanwerewolf@gmail.com. And for Ugly American Werewolf in London, you let us know the bands, the albums, the tours, the concerts, DVDs, the rock properties you want to hear us talk about here on the show. We need you to download and subscribe wherever you get your shows. And if you really want to help us out, hey, please go out and give us a 5-star review. It just means the world to us. It helps us find more rockers like you. And if you send it our way, we might just read it on an episode. Thanks as always to Pantheon Podcast for making us part of the family. And thanks to our sponsor, rarevinyl.com, based in the UK, folks. If you check out with the code UGLY, you can save 10% off of one entire order. That's it for this month's First Concert Memories. There will be more coming through the summer. And on Ugly American Werewolf in London, we have great live shows coming up. We have great album reviews coming up. We have killer guests coming up. Going to be a fun summer, so you're going to have to stay tuned. And to all you rock and rollers out there, keep going to see live music. It's the only way we're going to keep rock alive.